This is a Quest 3. If you'd like to buy one of these, it will set you back around $499.99. And if you'd like to play PC VR with this headset, you can do in two different ways. Firstly, you could play wired with a single cable, it's USB to USB-C, or you can go wireless in two different ways. You can use the free service, which is called Airlink. It's pretty good, but isn't the best. And then you've got Virtual Desktop, which will cost you around $14.99 or £14.99. It's an application you need to buy, and it allows you to play wireless PC VR pretty much seamlessly if you have the right network infrastructure at your house. Now, this headset is currently my daily driver, and I can see it being that way for a very long time. I truly believe that this, or its older brother, the Quest 2, will be more than adequate for 90% of people, 90% of consumers who are looking to get into VR and have a good time playing virtual reality games. And this handsome beast is the Pimax Crystal. Now, if you'd like to buy one of these, it will set you back around $1,599.99, or the price of 3 Meta Quest 3s. Now, if you'd like to play PC VR with this, which is what it's specifically designed to do, you can currently only do so via a wired connection. That connection is quite complicated. There are more than a few cables to plug in, but a wireless version is coming soon in a software update. Now, I truly believe that a headset like this, with the incredible specs that it has and the incredible price point it has, only really appeals to a small niche of the VR market. And VR is already a niche, so this is a niche within a niche. But today I'm going to be playing this alongside the Quest 3. Back to back in the same games. I'm going to see if a layman like me can really see the difference. Will I be able to see £1,000 worth of difference between this headset and the Quest 3? Is there an argument to say that something like the Pimax Crystal could be viable for a wider consumer-focused VR audience, or is it really just reserved for those most hardcore VR enthusiasts and people who play VR sims? So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to jump into 3 games probably. I'm going to go into the Quest 3 version first, and then immediately after I'm going to go into the same game on Pimax Crystal. I want to do it back to back like that so I can immediately see the differences. I want it to be very visceral and very obvious to me. Now, at this point I am a pretty hardcore VR user. I use VR basically every day, but I still wouldn't call myself a VR enthusiast when it comes to the technical specifications of the headset. I've never found myself needing to shell out the most money for the highest resolution or the highest FOV. I'm pretty comfortable going for something fairly entry level, like a Quest 2 or 3, if it gives me the experience of playing these VR games in a high quality way. I don't need it to be the very best thing ever. So I'm interested and intrigued about what the difference will be for someone like me, who is happy to opt for a Quest 3 when it comes to putting something like a Pimax Crystal on my head. Am I going to be that blown away that I would immediately say, yeah, you know what? I would spend the extra £1,000 or $1,000 on a headset like this. Okay, let's start with some Half Life Alyx. Some good old dependable Half Life Alyx. One of the best VR games for testing things like visual quality and performance, because it just looks so damn good. There aren't many games that look this good in VR still, and it's optimized to hell, so it runs really well on most PCs, and you can really push it. At least I find I can really push it to make it look even better. Now, immediately, one thing I really love about the Quest 3 and the Quest 2, to be honest, regardless of how simple they are in terms of their specs and the price point being quite entry level, is the fact that connecting them to play PC VR wirelessly, at least for me, is so painless, especially if you have Virtual Desktop. It took me seconds to get into this. I loaded up Virtual Desktop on my PC, I loaded up Virtual Desktop on the Quest 3, and then that was it. I was in. I was playing. It's all super seamless.
We might be able to upgrade your firepower a bit.
And I'm interested to know if that's going to kind of be a positive going for it when it comes to matching it up against the Pimax Crystal. I don't know how easy it is to get in and get going on the Crystal. I know there's a lot of cables to plug in and a lot of setup to do in that regard. But yeah, on Quest 3 and Quest 2, if you have virtual desktop, and even if you have Airlink, which is the free meta version of a wireless connection, you just hit one button in the Quest and make sure it's running on the PC, and that's it, you're in. Now, I will intermittently put the specs of both the Quest 3 and the Pimax Crystal on the screen, so you can kind of see what I'm working with here inside the headset, and I'll try and capture some through the lenses footage as well. But I have to say, the point of this video isn't to find out which is the better headset. It's not a comparison in terms of, ooh, what's better, Pimax Crystal for $1,600 or a Quest 3 for $500. The point really is, can I see that difference? Can I see £1,000 worth of difference between these two headsets? Is it immediately noticeable? Because in my personal opinion, it should be. It really should be immediately noticeable when I jump over to the Pimax. The difference, the increase in quality, the increase in clarity, the FOV change, the black levels, all that stuff. I want to see that straight away and be, frankly, blown away by it.
Oh, careful of that barnacle, Alex.
Because $1,000 is a lot of money. At the end of the day, we're talking about £1,000 difference between two pieces of hardware that effectively do the same job. And I think it's an interesting thing to look at these two pieces of hardware from the perspective of someone like me who, yeah, I do play a lot of VR, but I am still a pretty standard consumer when it comes to these kind of things. And I'm genuinely unsure whether I would spend that kind of money on a VR headset. I mean, the big screen Beyond nearly got me. I was very tempted to pick one of those up, but I still couldn't quite justify the price point. You know, when we're talking over £1,000 for a VR headset, I really want to see I really want to see the difference between that and a £500 or £350 VR headset. Is there an argument to say that a lot of the kind of more high-end VR headset manufacturers like Varjo, Pimax, Big Screen's different because of its form factor. It's so appealing because of that small form factor, so I kind of won't include them. But some of the other high-end VR headset manufacturers, is it time to maybe take a different approach? Is it time to do something slightly different to kind of capitalize on the growing consumer-focused market? Because I do think 90% of people will be absolutely fine with this level of visual fidelity. The Quest 3 looks fantastic. It really, really does.
Behind this hatch?
Yeah, that's where they keep it.
The field of view, the resolution, how smooth it runs with something like virtual desktop, the colours, they're very natural. I think the only thing that the Quest 3 doesn't particularly do very well in terms of its colours, which is very similar to the Quest 2, is the black levels. It's not something that's ever really bothered me.
Where would I put a control panel?
But I know a lot of people have spoken about it. It's more grey than it is black. And I'm interested to see what the Pimax looks like when it comes to black levels. I'm actually going to open up this bit and go in here because this is a good test for black levels. I mean, for me personally, it looks great. Like, the darks look dark. Over here, I don't think it does look grey. But I've always been on that side of the argument. I can't see it. My eyes are so basic. I just don't see this as an issue. But I know some people do. And maybe when I put that Pimax on and I see like true black levels, maybe then I'll change my tune. You can actually see all these kind of little blades in here on Quest 3. It's such a sharp headset. It looks flipping fantastic. But you can actually see all these little details, like these blades in here are what squish this little beetle when you choose to heal yourself. Hold on. Ah! There we go. Ah, look, it all oh, it's disgusting. So all the blades kind of come together and squish the beetle down into juice, and then you use it to heal. Very, very clever. Very, very clever. But this thing has teeth. Look at the teeth. You can actually see the teeth. That is disgusting. Oh, there's a rat there. Should I shoot that? Is there a reason that's there? Too late. Done it now. Done it. I can't really remember if I'm supposed to shoot that.
Do you hear that?
Oh, I love this bit. Okay, this is the first time you see... Yes! Alright, can I let him in and let him get eaten?
That's the way we gotta go.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah,
Come on.
the short
Come on in.
cut.
Get eaten. What an idiot. What an idiot. One thing that will never cease to amaze me in VR games is coming from like a dark area out into like an outside area, and it feeling like you've actually transitioned into natural light. My eyes kind of adjust in the right way, in the way that they would if I was actually doing it in the real world. It is bonkers to me that VR has that effect. I don't think I need to kill that one. I don't know why I did. That was pointless.
Ammo, you know, might come in.
Oh, bugger!
Got it.
Bugger! 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 Do they explode when they eat them? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Oh, this just looks so bloody good. So detailed. Eat that. Kill your friend. Oh, the teeth. And they still kind of like sway in the breeze even when they're dead. Okay, I'm going to play through this bit, and then I'm going to switch over to the crystal. You going to come through the window? You trying? You trying? Try again. Come on, try again. Maybe not. Oh god, he's tried again. See, I think the black levels here look great. Like, honestly, I do. I'm not just saying that. I don't see them as an issue on Quest 3 at all. And that's not me saying that people who do see it as an issue are wrong. I just do think we've all got different levels of tolerance, and as I've said a million times, I'm kind of in this more for the experience of just playing the games, and I'm not super concerned about them looking as perfect as maybe they could. But then I might eat my words. We'll jump into the Pimax, and I might think, okay, I can't go back now. This looks too damn good. Any more explosive barrels? I don't think there are there? There's one right down the end there. He's going to hit that at me. I know he is. He always does it. So let's just shoot it out of the way so we can't do it. Look at this. Whoa! Phenomenal. Can I knock him back? Ah! That wasn't meant to happen. It wasn't meant to happen. Bloody heck. It wasn't meant to happen. Didn't realise if he punched it, it would explode in my face. Crap on a stick. Okay, well look, I think Quest 3 looks absolutely phenomenal. I will capture some through the lenses footage in this little subway area, and then we'll move over to Pimax Crystal. You know, I can see why this is enough for, you know, in my opinion, around probably like 90% of the VR gaming community. I don't think people necessarily need to splash out on anything more high fidelity than this, unless they are super, super focused and concerned about things looking pristinely perfect to a degree that I don't know. I don't know if it's enough to justify that extra cost, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to switch over, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Just setting up the Pimax Crystal to start filming some Half Life Alyx, but before I do that, I just needed to show you the level of cabling required for wired PCVR on this headset. Now, I appreciate it is a beast, so it does require some additional oomph, some additional power, and quite a lot of cabling, but it's still kind of crazy that there's like there's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm kind of getting PSVR flashbacks. I think that even people who have had amazing experiences with VR don't come back as often as they maybe would, because this is the perceived issue, you know, like the setup time is huge. You have to plug things in, make sure it's calibrated correctly, yada yada yada. So eliminating that, I think, is it should be a big focus in making VR more accessible for more people. I think it's why standalone VR is so popular. You just put the headset on and you start playing. But PC VR, at least for like these high-end headsets, I think still has a bit of a problem in terms of setup time. Alright, I'm going to plug all this in and get going.
One eternity later.
Just been downloading firmware updates and troubleshooting for 20 minutes because I couldn't get it to connect to the PC. I think it's doing it now, so any minute now I'll be able to play. This thing better be amazing because there's so many hurdles to get in and start playing. It just doesn't feel smooth enough. Okay, we're finally into Half Life Alyx on the Pimax Crystal. Now, I'm having to do some pretty hilarious things to get this video to work. I've had to like duct tape my microphone to the Pimax because normally it's connected via like a little magnetic lock, but I can't use the headphones that have the other half of that magnetic lock with the Pimax because it's so big. Now, I'll start this the same way I started the Quest 3 trial run of this game. When I played on Quest 3, jumping in and getting set up took seconds. On Pimax, it took probably 40 minutes of troubleshooting and tinkering to get everything running. Now immediately that is a problem. That isn't great. First off, I had to get all the cables set up and it wasn't detecting the headset at all. Then there was a few updates when it finally detected the headset. Then when it got set up, Half-Life Alyx wouldn't work. It kept showing a black screen. I had sound, but no screen. I needed to drop the resolution and put in a kind of start parameter minus no vid to get the game even running. So immediately there's a lot of things I needed to overcome to get this working on this Pimax Crystal headset. Yeah, these dark areas. It does look nice. It looks very nice. Does it look £1,000 different nice? Resolution is crazy. Like, it looks incredibly sharp. And I'm seeing tiny details really clearly.
I think I can reroute this with my multi-tool.
There is no denying this is a very impressive headset.
Who am I going to sell it to?
These look more like the way that dark interiors look to my actual eyes in the real world. I've got to admit. And that's really nice. One thing that's kind of shocking to me, though, is how cheap the controllers feel for a headset this expensive. I would have expected something a lot more premium feeling. Do I have any other bullets? I don't think I do. Give me that ammo. Come on. There we go. Right. Bang. Yeah, I would have expected some more premium feeling controllers. These feel like kind of market stall knockoff Quest 2 controllers. They feel very plasticky. They don't feel very heavy. They feel a bit more like toys. I would have really expected something a bit more robust. Okay, so there's two things that I'm immediately blown away by on the Pimax Crystal. Two things I'm really enamored with, I guess. Firstly, it's the contrast. Genuinely, the black levels are really impressive. The contrast between the darker colours on my hand and the lighter elements like the hearts and the bullet counters and the flashing little green lights. It looks amazing, especially because the resolution's so high and it's so detailed. Like, it looks absolutely phenomenal. The clarity is nuts. The other thing that I really like is the sound quality of these built-in headphones. Really crunchy. Really crunchy sound. And I don't know, crunchy probably isn't the audiophile appropriate way to explain how it sounds, but it does sound. Why did I put that in the back? It does sound really impactful. Yeah, loving the quality of these built-in speakers. They're very impressive. Okay, and yeah, FOV is very nice, but I am noticing kind of almost it's almost like a warping effect, like an artificial warping at the very edges of my vision. God, it's lovely though. Like the FOV here, I can see basically right from the ground to above those buildings. You might not even be able to see that on the capture, but I can see by just looking forward. I can see the ground here, so that bit of ground where that grass is, and I can see right above like that building. I can see that all within my field of view. which is really nuts and yeah, quite magnificent, I must say. Everything looks like it has a better sense of scale on the crystal, and the colours are very natural. They look very kind of yeah, just realistic, like what I would see with my actual eyes. I really do hate these controllers. They're so plasticky. They feel like the equivalent of, you know, the controller that you would give to your younger brother or a friend that would come over, and you bought like a knockoff Xbox controller from the market that was like a fraction of the price, and you use the official controller, and they get to use the cheap knockoff. It feels like that, which isn't a nice feeling, and they sound awful. Ugh. Horrible. Yeah, okay. I see what people are saying now about the black levels. Like, this is dark. This is really dark. Whereas on the Quest, I could still kind of see, because I guess it's got that kind of grayscale to it rather than black. Yeah, okay. Alright. Alright, okay. Yeah. I see what people are saying. If you want things, if you want your games to look true to life in terms of the contrast, the black levels, I get it. I do get it. For horror games, this will be horrible. It's so much darker. Jesus! Before I go in there, I might actually try and get some through the lenses footage just standing here, because honestly, this field of view here is yeah, I'm really blown away by it. It looks amazing. I'm so scared to take this off in case something goes wrong. It took me so long to get this set up. I don't want it to not work. Come on, don't break on me. In we go. Do you know what I think surprises me the most about this headset? Other than the fact that the controllers are super cheap, it's how painful it is to use the software that you need to use to get this thing working, and how kind of unintuitive a lot of it is. Again, for a headset with this price, I would expect something better. So when you first stick it on, you have to do things like you hold it in front of you still or on a flat surface to calibrate where it is and where your kind of center of gameplay is. But then you need to manually put in the distance in centimeters from the floor to where your head is. You have to put that in manually. This thing can't, or it doesn't scan for it. Potentially that might be because I'm not using like base stations, but this thing doesn't need base stations. But it can't figure out where the floor is without you putting in how far you are from the floor manually. I find that strange. I find that strange. And if you get it wrong, you end up really tall in game or really small. So you need to like bust out a tape measure, which is weird. I am really impressed with the overall visual fidelity of the Pimax Crystal, but I should be for a headset that costs, you know, nearly $2,000. For me though, it's the contrast more than anything. It's the difference between these light areas and these dark areas. That is so far, along with the quality of the sound through these built-in earphones, like they're the two biggest selling points for me. I don't think I would spend the money to get either of those things though. I think I would definitely just settle for the Quest 3, because the Quest 3, to be perfectly honest, running via virtual desktop is comparatively very close to the experience I'm having here. Yeah, this looks way spookier because it's so dark. Oh my god. I'm just gonna cut out the middleman and just get rid of him now. There we go. Yeah, this is really dark. Horror games in, oh my god, in a headset like this will be next level. Absolutely next level. mean, horror stuff still looks great on Quest 3, but how dark it is makes things feel so much more oppressive and scary. Genuinely much scarier. Okay, get rid of all this. Nice. Yeah, I think the through the lens footage in there is going to be really telling. I'll do it in the same place I did it with on the Quest, so that it's fair. Right, let's kill you. Woohoo! And you. Don't hit that bucket at me. Honestly, this guy, he's always hitting buckets at me. He'll hit that barrel at me if he's given half a chance. Watch. I bet he will. Bet he will. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. So predictable. Predictable little shit. Okay, so Half Life Alyx looks absolutely stunning on the Pimax Crystal, as I expected it would do. The FOV, the contrast, the black levels, the resolution, it all looks absolutely amazing. The smaller details really pop on this headset, probably because of the QLED screen. It's a stunning thing, it really, really is. But there are immediately some issues that I can't overlook. So the warping at the edges of my vision pulls me out of things. The FOV is amazing, it really kind of makes things more immersive, but then that's kind of at odds with this warping, which pulls you back out and reminds you that you are using a VR headset. Secondly, this thing is heavy. It's about 840 grams, I think, so it's about 300 grams heavier than a Quest 3. Thirdly, the setup is painful. It took me a long time to get this thing going, and I don't like the software you have to use. It's very unintuitive, doesn't feel slick. It's much better to connect wirelessly via virtual desktop with the Quest 3. It takes, you know, seconds. And then lastly, these controllers feel super, super cheap. They need a better solution than these controllers. That they are almost an insult if you've spent the money that you've spent. I would want to use something different. I wouldn't want to use these. Right, let's capture some through the lens and then do a very quick look at Skyrim, and then we'll wrap up today. Okay, let's finish with everyone's favourite, heavily modded Skyrim. And when I say heavily modded, I do mean that. I've modded this to hell. This is the way I always wanted this game to look. I finally got it looking like this, and it does look absolutely stunning on Pimax Crystal. But I can tell it's not running particularly well. It's struggling quite a bit. There's a fair bit of drag when I move around quickly. It feels like the frame rate is struggling to keep up. Definitely playable, but I feel like I would need to drop the resolution to get this running nicely. Now bear in mind, I'm running the Pimax Crystal on a PC that has a 4090 GPU and an i9 12900K processor. So it's no slouch. This PC is a bit of a beast, and it's struggling to run Skyrim here smoothly on the Crystal. Which is a real shame because it does look bloody amazing. I cannot fault the visual quality of the Pimax at all. The screen quality, the sound quality, both absolutely exceptional. The resolution is stunning. The colours, the definition, the clarity, it's all beautiful. But it kind of comes unstuck when you look at things like performance for one, and yeah, that's right, you're dead. Performance for one, and then like the software you have to use for two, and the quality of these controllers, they're just not good enough. Just not good enough. Man, I love the visual aesthetic of this particular set of mods. This is just how I always wanted Skyrim to look in VR. It looks kind of really fantastical, but also really natural. The colours pop. It's beautiful. The trees in particular look absolutely amazing. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. And the FOV is blowing me away right now. Again, like I can see from the floor in front of me, like these rocks here, I can see them to the top of that tree there and a little bit beyond. Like that is my FOV. It is wide. Right, I'm going to do some through the lenses recording here on the Pimax Crystal, and then I'm going to jump over to Quest 3 and just sum up my thoughts. I think I know where I'm at, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. This is a very impressive headset, it really is, but yeah, I'll sum up in a mo. Let's just capture some through the lenses recording here, so you can see what this looks like. Stop talking to me about dragons. Oh man, it's almost embarrassing just how quick it is to put the Quest 3 on, load up Virtual Desktop, and get into a game. When I'm comparing that to the Pimax, it is so incredibly painless. It took me no time to get this going, whereas the Pimax, it feels cumbersome. Using that software you have to use is really cumbersome. However, loading straight from the Pimax, playing Skyrim, into the Quest 3, playing Skyrim, feels like going from... Oh man, feels like going from PSVR 2 to original PSVR. Feels like going from Quest 3 to Quest 2. This looks great, don't get me wrong, my height is all screwed up by the way, I haven't set my height up clearly, it's a bit of a mess. There we go, I've sorted my height somewhat. Yeah, loading into this on Quest 3 after coming away from Pimax is nuts. Half-Life didn't feel this impactful. Half-Life looked pretty great on both, but I don't know if it's because Pimax really allowed me to see the visual quality of all the mods I've got running, I don't know, but Skyrim looked absolutely gorgeous on Pimax, and on Quest 3 it looks fine, but it's definitely like muddier, less crisp. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. The game looks stunning on Quest 3, but it looked absolutely mind-blowing on the Pimax Crystal. It really does feel like a bit of a downgrade when I come back to Quest 3 now. However, the performance is much, much better running it via Virtual Desktop on Quest 3 at the lower resolution. I do have a theory, however, that perhaps it doesn't look quite as good on Quest 3 and it looked a lot better on Pimax because I'm using the VR Toolkit mod application that basically pushes in foveated rendering to Skyrim or whatever game you apply it to allow it to run better. And I don't think that was necessarily working on Pimax, but it is definitely working here. This is a much smoother experience. But maybe that's why the visuals have taken a bit of a hit here on Quest 3. Unsure. I'm unsure. It just looks more washed out. The colours don't look as vibrant. Things in the distance don't look as sharp and in focus. The resolution here is immediately noticeable. The contrast is very noticeable. The shadows don't look as impactful as they did on the Pimax. It's crazy. Yeah, this does not look anywhere near as good as it did on Pimax. Which I guess is to be expected. It is a $1,599 headset versus a $499 headset. So, with that all being said, would I actually spend the additional $1,100 to buy a Pimax Crystal over a Quest 3? I think the honest answer, for me personally, has to be no. The Pimax Crystal is incredibly impressive. It impressed me the most in Skyrim, and I only played that for a short period of time, but this game looked vibrant and natural and just incredible on that headset. The resolution bump, the FOV bump, contrast, the screen quality. Skyrim really sang on a headset like the Pimax Crystal. It looks great here on Quest 3 and it's running super smoothly, but on the Crystal it looked like almost real life. It still had that stylistic look to it, but the shadows, the colours, the vibrancy, the details, they all looked absolutely mind-blowing on the Pimax. ultimately what it boils down to for me personally is the experience of playing these games. For me, a pretty casual VR gamer, I'm not in it for the highest specs, the most impressive technical specifications. For me personally, the experience of playing both these games feels the same whether I'm using the $499 Quest 3 or the $1,600 Pimax Crystal. I understand why most consumers will gravitate towards the cheaper headset. They want that cheap entry point into the VR medium. But more than that, it's so much simpler to set up the Quest 3 for PC VR gaming and get going. Jump into it, start playing almost immediately. Pimax Crystal made things quite restrictive. There's a lot of friction to get into that and start playing. Firstly, there's a lot of cables to set up. You're plugging into the display port. You also have to plug into like a little hub. The hub then goes off to a power supply. The hub also goes into a USB on your PC. The hub then also plugs into the headset itself. And even though I had done all that correctly, it didn't work for me for a little while. I had to keep resetting the software, and eventually the Pimax came to life and it started working. There's a lot of friction there immediately just using the software and starting this up as a PC VR piece of hardware. And I think enthusiasts won't mind that. They won't mind that struggle if they're going to put 1,000 hours into Elite Dangerous or Microsoft Flight Simulator. But the most casual gamers, they don't want to fight against something like software and setup for 20, 30, 40 minutes. And then you have things like the quality of the controllers. They feel plasticky. They don't feel like they should be accompanying a headset that costs $1,600. And then there's the warping. There's some effects in there that, again, aren't quite right. For me, ultimately, the fact that I can throw the Quest onto my head and start gaming within seconds thanks to Virtual Desktop is the true selling point. It's so easy to get going. There's almost no friction now. It's painless to start playing VR, and Pimax Crystal has a long way to go to overcome that kind of friction and get people to start playing with it. It's just not smooth enough. I'm going to capture a little bit of Through the Lens gameplay now from Skyrim, and then I'm going to go and relax because I've been filming for hours trying to get all this stuff running and get some decent footage for you. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, please leave a like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment down below. I will see you all soon for another one. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.